Understanding Excel. In this video we'll be covering basics of Excel. To start with, let's understand what is Microsoft Excel. Well, a Microsoft Excel program is basically a spreadsheet that is used to store and retrieve numerical data in a grid format. In a moment, I'll explain you what this grid format is and what are these columns and rows. Who should really learn Microsoft Excel? Well, if your daily work requires financial decision making, business analysis, then yes, Excel is required. So this is about those who are into jobs. Let's talk about those who are not in job. For example, if you're a student, for a student it is extremely important to understand the working of Excel because this is a skill that most of the employers are looking for, especially if you're aspiring to get into financial analysis or business analysis. So what all things we will be learning in this video? Well, first of all, we will be defining what is a term spreadsheet and what exactly do we mean by worksheet. We will identify various parts of this worksheet. We will understand how to start an Excel, open an existing workbook, and how to save a workbook. And we will understand how to create an active cell and how to enter the numbers within that cell in a worksheet.
So what exactly is a worksheet? Well, in Excel, a computerized spreadsheet is called a worksheet and combination of various sheets is called a workbook. So a workbook can have many sheets as you want, and combined, the combination of various worksheets is called a workbook.
So there is an Excel icon, which is in this case it's Excel 2016. In your laptop it may vary. If you're using Mac version it could vary, but this is usually a symbol of Excel file. If you double click on this, you will be able to open a program. There are different formats in which this sheet may open, but this is usually a setting in Windows. In this we are opening a blank sheet. Here you go.
So here is an Excel. So what you look at here is called a worksheet. As you can see that by default there is one sheet that is opened up. So this is called active worksheet, and you can add as many worksheets as you want to. A combination of all this is called workbook. So as you can see, this is called name, the book 1 is mentioned here. So this is the workbook. So a workbook can have many worksheets, and combination of variety of worksheets is under one workbook in the format of Excel. Within this you see that these are alphabets here. So these letters actually attribute columns. So these are called columns. The vertical part of the Excel is called column, and what is denoted by numbers is these are called rows. And you can see there is a combination, that is these cut through each other. So wherever it cuts through each other is called cell. As you can see that this is B3. So this B3 is called cell, and once you place the cursor here it becomes an active cell and it is denoted by the number here. You can see it's B3.
Well, to begin with, an Excel may not have any name. As you can see, it's book 2. It can start with book 1 or whatever. In case there is an existing set of Excel already open, this may vary, but it does not have a name. We'll just quickly understand how to save this. You also see that there is a zoom in feature here. If I scroll the button plus, you can see it will continue to increase the size, and we can change the name of the worksheet by double clicking on it and renaming it whatever we want to. Similarly, we can add more worksheets basis our analysis, and these can be added together, and you can continue to rename that in a similar way, that is double clicking it, and whatever name you want you can enter here. You can also see that there is a scroll button here. If I just hold this button and move it down, it can scroll. Similarly, if you place the cursor here, let's say this is an active cell, and if we move it down, similarly the cursor can move without using the mouse. So let's talk about the cell for a moment. So let's quickly talk about what does a cell mean. If I place the on this box, you can see A1. A represents column and 1 represents row, and similarly you can see A1 here. Similarly, if I place the cursor here, which is F column and 3 row, so you can see it's F3 here. So cell is basically an intersection of a row and a column, and that is what you see here. Wherever you place the box here, similarly automatically the Excel will pick up what number is assigned to this cell. The cell in the worksheet in which you can type data is called active cell. For example, in this A1 is active cell, where I double clicked it and it became active, where this cursor is moving and I can write anything I want to here. Let's say I want to write Excel here, so we can type in the form of text, and we can type it in the form of numbers. So I'm moving here on B1, where I'll type numbers. I want to write, let's say 90, and accordingly you can see that 90 is mentioned here. So here both A1 and B1, both these cells are active cells where we are entering the data. So let's try and save this worksheet. In fact, together all the worksheets is called workbook. By default, book 1, book 2, book 3 kind of options will be displayed. As you can see, this is the name of the Excel file. So let's save this on desktop for now. You click on this save button. You can also use Control S. It will give you option to save the worksheet. So let's try and save this workbook before we lose any data. So we go on File and we go on Save As button. We want to save it on the desktop. I already have a folder here. I can save it wherever I want to, and I want to name it as sample Excel file, and then I hit save. So I can close this, and if I go on the same folder, if I click on this, double click on this, the same file will open. So you can see that our information is, we are able to retrieve our information that we entered in A1 and B1 cell. One thing which I wanted to mention here is this button that you see, Control S button. This works only when you have saved the workbook once. So if you have just opened the Excel and if you have not saved it, and if you're entering the hitting this button, this may not save at your desired location. There might be a temporary saving happening at the server level, but in order to really save it on your desktop or laptop, you need to actually save this on your desktop by going to Save As button first. We will continue our discussion on understanding Excel. Within that, we were doing basics of Excel. In this video, we will be covering how to select cells, enter data in a worksheet, how to edit and replace data in cells, how to preview and print a worksheet, and also how to close a workbook and exit Excel. So let's get started. Let's say there are 10 students in a class. Their roll numbers start from 1 to 10. We can write 1 and 2 here, and I'll show you how to extend these numbers. If you select these two cells and you go on the corner and you just drag it till 10, you will see that the numbers will appear from 1 to 10. You don't have to manually enter it. So you have to just select these two cells and just drag it till whatever point you want. In this we want it till 10, so we'll drag it till 10. And similarly for these 10 students, we are saying that they took an exam and they have respective scores. And let's say they took maths exam, and I'll just write it down, what are the respective exam scores for these students. As you can see, there are 3 options here: how to align left, center, and how to align on your right. So if you select any cell or number of cells, we can align it the way we want to. For example, on rule numbers, if we want to align them on left, we just click on left and they will be aligned on the left hand side. Similarly, you can align it on center, or you can align it on the right hand side. How to do a sum of these? You click on auto sum and you see that automatically it gives a sum of all these numbers. You don't have to manually enter the formula here. So now you can see that a cell may have text, a cell may have numbers, a cell may have formula, and these are all active cells, and this can be the combination of how you can actually put data in the form of numbers, text, or formula. And in order to update the numbers, for example, I changed from 23 to 30 for roll number 1, automatically it gets updated. So any cell, if you enter that, it can be changed. Similarly, I'm changing it, instead of maths, I'm just writing it English. Let's say these are scores for English exam, and you can just select the cell and update it, and automatically it gets updated, and you can see the updated version there. You have to just select it and just write it there. I'm writing the scores for maths exam separately, so let me just randomly write the numbers here as a sample test here. Again, you can just copy by using auto sum. We totaled up for mathematics exam as well. So we have 2 columns, English and maths scores for all these 10 students. So let's try and use a find function. If you hit on Control and F, a box will appear. Like this, and you can just write maths here and just hit on next, and you will see that automatically the cursor moves to maths cell. And similarly, there is another function that is used as replace. So let's try with English. Let's say that we want to replace English with Hindi. What exactly we do? We go on replace and find what we are finding English, and we want to replace it with Hindi. So we write Hindi here, and we just go on replace this, and automatically you see that Hindi is replaced. Well, for one cell it's not really a relevant thing, but let's say you're dealing with hundreds and thousands of cells, then this becomes an extremely important function to use. So let me also explain you how to zoom this sheet and how to increase the font sizes. So as you can see on the right hand side bottom corner, there is a plus and minus sign. If you increase or decrease it, automatically the size changes. As you can see, now I've increased it, so the sheet is has enlarged and it has become more legible. Similarly, you can select these cells and go on the font size there and change the font size, and automatically this gets updated. The same way we can actually change the style of these the text, the what we have mentioned. So instead of Calibri, let's say we need Arial, so we can just hit on Arial, and the font size changes, as well as the style can be changed by selecting those specific cells. There is an important functionality you should understand for Excel, and that is the print function. Let's enlarge this list here, and let's say we have to take a printout of these. Let me just show you how to take a printout. Let's delete these and just see for rest of the data how the print can work. So in case you go with the default option of print, you go on file and then you go on print function, you see that there are two sheets that will be covered to take a printout of our data points. However, when we select these data points, let's say we make a selection here of the area we want to take a printout, we again go on file function, file tab, we go on print, and in this, instead of print active sheets, we select print selection. We see that all the data is coming in one sheet instead of two, and it's more clean. Similarly, what we can do is we can change the orientation of this, and either select portrait, the current format is portrait, or we can select landscape. It will change into landscape printing. So how do we close the data sheet? We go on file tab, and then we see close button. If we hit on close, the sheet will close. Another option is hitting on X, and again the sheet will close. We will continue with our example of roll numbers 1 to 10 and 2 exams, English and maths. These are the scores. So in this video, what we are covering is if function and the use of and within if. Okay, and let's take an example that in this section we want to know whether let's write English here, and we want to know pass or fail. And let's say the cutoff for pass and fail is 40 marks, meaning this is out of 100, and if someone has scored more than 40, they pass. If it is less than 40, they fail. So as you can see, the difference between these two is because of the font size. So let's standardize everything. Let's just cover the entire area so that it's all one font. And let's probably increase the screen a little to make it more legible. So we are doing if function to find out whether the scores, basis the score, the student has passed or failed. So if we put an equal, that starts the formula. The if function is simply you write if and bracket start. So automatically it shows you an equation which is if you write the logical test, if that logical test holds good, then give the value which is the value if true, or give the value if false. So let's see this with an example. Let's say we want to find out pass or fail for English, and we want to indicate if this is equal to 40, then give me pass, or else the false equation is give me fail, which is less than 40. So as you can see, it's 30, so which is less than 40. So the student has failed in English for this. Let's center align this. And similarly, if we hold the cursor here and pull it down, it will copy for rest of the areas, rest of the roll numbers. So in this you can see 43, so it is passed, and automatically it picks up. So that's why these are logical functions. So logically it is trying to find out whether the student has passed or failed. So if you're looking this for the first time, use of if function, this may not be that easy to absorb, but the power of if function is that whatever logical test you want to perform, you can perform in Excel. With practice, you get better. Again, I'll repeat what we did in this was we are trying to find out pass or fail for English, where the cutoff is 40, and the way to write it is equal to if sign. If C3, which is this cell, is greater than 40, give me pass, or else fail. You have to ensure that the true value and the false value, they are in bracket, then only they will appear in this, otherwise there might be some error. So this is one of the simpler forms. Equal, is greater than 40, give me pass, or else you give me the value fail. This is the use of simple if function. Similarly, let's perform an exercise where we want to know pass or fail, which is the same information we want to know, but the only difference is we want to know pass fail for English and maths. What does this mean? This basically means that if the student has passed in both the exams, then give us pass, or else fail. So for example, in this case, English is pass but maths is fail. So this should be option as fail. So what is the function to use here? It is an extension of if function, which is equal to if, and to write this equation, you have to put first and. Okay. So if the logical function here is C3 is greater than 40 and D3 is also greater than 40. We close the bracket here. The true value is pass, or else Excel gives fail as the option. So in this it was a clear fail. In English it was fail. So and maths, both the exam it is fail. But in this we figured out that in English the student has passed, but in maths it's fail. But overall we want as fail, because the equation is English and maths both we should be scoring more than 40. So as you can see that here we have got fail. Similarly, here also, where English was 89 and maths was 25, we got fail. So in this we have done two equations, two functions. One is the if function and the other is and function using if. So I'll repeat, what we have done here is we tried to find out pass or fail in English. What we did was we have to test a particular value, which in this case was we wanted to test if the student has scored more than 40, the Excel shows pass, or else the Excel shows fail. And we simply drag the numbers to find out in which roll number someone has passed or failed. The second thing that we did here was to find out in both the cases, which is English and maths, in both the exams whether the student has passed or failed. So in this we set the equation as if bracket starts and, because there are two equations we need to test. In English, if someone has scored more than 40, in maths if someone has scored more than 40, give us pass, or else give us fail. And we dragged it all along, and we figured out that Excel was able to analyze this on its own and throw us the value for pass and fail across both English and maths, where the student has passed in both or failed in both. With that, I will end the session for if function, and in the next video what we will be doing is an extension of if function, which is called nested if. Thanks for watching. We'll continue our discussion on understanding Excel. Within that, we are doing financial modeling tools. In the last video, we discussed about if function and AND function with the use of if. In this video, we'll be covering nested if, which is an if function within an if function, and also we'll be covering data validation. So let's see these two aspects in action. So here is where we left in the last video, where we tried using if and AND if function. In this, what we want to do is first use data validation and then use nested if. So let me just take down those students who have passed in both the exams. So roll number 2 has passed in both, roll number 4 and 5 have passed in both, as well as roll number 9 and 10. Alright, and for simplicity, let's give these roll numbers names. So let's call them student A, B, C, D and E. This is for English and this is for maths. So in this, first what we will be doing is data validation. If you have seen Excel in the past, and there might be a situation that you have seen a drop down option. So that is basically a data validation. How do you arrive at data validation and how do you apply it in Excel? Is if you go on data tab, within that you see that there is data validation option. If you click on it, it will give you 3 options. What we want is the first option. In this, what we will pick up is a list. So what we want is a list of these names, and I've entered here, and we say OK. So a list is formed. As you can see that we have a list of all the students from A to E with us, and this is a very good way to analyze some conditions. This is a very good way to analyze some conditions. So let's go on home and let's indicate in a different color, because we know that we have applied data validation here. Now we move to the interesting topic of nested if. As I said that if function, in the last video we did one single equation of if. We were testing only one logic, which was if this is true or if this equation holds good, give me this value or otherwise that value. In AND function we apply 2 conditions, which is if this holds good and if this holds good, give me this value or otherwise give me that value, which was pass and fail in our previous examples. In this case, let's take an example that whatever is shown here, whichever name of the student is shown here, total marks are being shown. So let me just simplify this, which is name of the student is mentioned here and total marks are alright. So I want total marks to be mentioned here. So let's use this. So let me just write the equation here, which is equal to if. The logical function is if this equal to A, which is the student A, give me value of sum of A and B. Now if it is B, C, D, E, what will be the value? So we have to write it again, the if function. Again, you can see it's nested if, right? Within if we are writing an if function. So if this value equals B, then give me sum of B and in B English and maths, bracket closed. Again, if this equals C, give me value of sum of English and maths for C, bracket closed. If this equals D, give me the value of sum of D and English and maths. Again, if this is equal to E, give me the value of sum of English and maths for E, student name E, or else give me the value not available, which is NA. We also need to put under bracket here. As you can see that we got the value NA because we don't have anything here. Once we select any option, let's say name of the student A, we see that automatically we have got 88 here, which is combination of 43 and 45. You can also see it under here where sum, average and count is mentioned. So we have 88. Similarly, I can select B, which is 132, C 99, D 153 and E 101. So if you reflect on what we have exactly done on this example, we have applied two very important financial analysis functions within Excel. One is the data validation. Data validation is nothing but making a list. How do you make it? You go on data tab. Within that there is data validation. You select on data validation tab. You select list. Within that you can select the source and you hit OK, and wherever your cursor is placed, there the list will be formed. So wherever you want to form the list, you place it, place the cursor there, make it as an active cell, and then create data validation. After data validation, what we did was we created nested if function. This looks quite daunting because it's quite an extended function, but simply what it is trying to do is if B10 is equal to any of the names of the students, then give us total of English and maths, or else you move to the next equation. For example, we started with A. If A doesn't hold good, we move to B. If B doesn't hold good, we move to C. If C doesn't hold good, we move to D. And similarly for E, and if nothing is there out of A, B, C, D, E, we wanted an answer which is NA. So if I delete this, you will see that NA comes in. NA is basically there is no information there, so it's not applicable. So in this video we covered very important functions. I would categorize as advanced financial analysis functions. Whenever you have to do financial analysis, these would be categorized as advanced functions. We created list by using data validation, and then we applied the function nested if function, where we created equation within the equation, logical equations, to prove or disprove something. In the next video we'll be covering how to use search functions within Excel, which includes HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP and even pivot tables. Thank you for watching. I'm using the same example as used earlier. In this we have 5 students who have a certain score in English and Maths exam. We will be applying vertical lookup here. Vertical lookup, as the name suggests, is basically finding information vertically, which is across rows, and horizontal is across columns. So let's see this in action by using one example. Here we have 5 students, A, B, C, D, E. Let's say we want to find the score of C in maths, and we want to use a function that will directly display that information. So I'm using vertical lookup function here. So what's the formula of vertical lookup? Which is equal to, the formula starts, and the function is VLOOKUP. As you can say, it indicates VLOOKUP value here. So this is the way it shows what all information you need to fill. So to begin with, it shows what is the value you are looking for. So I'm looking for a value, say C. Name of the student is C. Table array is from where you want to find the information. I want to find the information across these 3 columns, which is name, English and maths. What is the column index number you want? Which is, so this is column index 1, 2 and 3. So what we want is from 3rd column index, we need score of maths, and we close this needs to be in bracket, and now we close the function. As you can see, it finds out on its own value 45, which is the score of maths by student C. This would be a simpler example of applying vertical lookup. Oftentimes, in this case, the information was in front of your eyes, so you could have easily figured that out. But let's say if there are many rows and columns and you have to apply one function to pull up some information, this is highly effective. So again, I'll repeat what I have done here is the VLOOKUP starts with a very simple equal to VLOOKUP, the name VLOOKUP. Bracket starts, whatever information you want to find out, you just type in there with the bracket sign there, and you select the range of information that the table array from where you need to pick up the information, and then you enter the column index number. Always remember that from wherever you are starting is column number 1, then 2 and then 3. And whichever information you are trying to find out, in this we had the student name C, and from this information we were trying to find out what's the score of C in maths exam. You have to ensure that C is contained in the first column, or the information you are trying to find out is contained in the first column of your table array. So this covers up the vertical lookup. Now I will do a similar exercise for horizontal lookup. So how does this work? Equal to H lookup. H stands for horizontal. Lookup value, in this we have to find out this. For example, let's say we want to write here maths because we want to find out the information in maths. As you can see, what is horizontally mentioned is our name, English and maths. So that's why we have to just think in these terms. So within maths, the array, let's say we are taking the same array and maths is contained in the first row of the horizontal lookup, and table array is the same as we have used earlier. Let's say in this we wanted to find out information in terms of what is the third row. In this, the third row is 1, 2 and 3. It starts horizontally, so row 1, 2, 3. Let's say 4. So if I write 4, it will give me the same number as 45, which is basically find out fourth number of where the maths is mentioned. So if I close this, it will give me the same value as 45. So the way to look at it is, there is a big difference between vertical lookup and horizontal lookup. Vertical lookup is trying to search information vertically, and horizontal is looking the information horizontally. Although the formula is same, but you need to apply your understanding in terms of what exact information you want to retrieve. Are you wanting to retrieve information horizontally, or you want to retrieve information vertically, and accordingly you will apply the formula. So in this, what we have done is with simple example of what we were doing earlier of students and their scores in different subjects. We applied vertical table where we were looking for the information in vertical columns in terms of what is the score they had in different subjects and all for the student. And similarly we applied the horizontal lookup where horizontally we applied the information in terms of name, English, maths, and accordingly horizontally we picked up the information. So these are search tools, vertical lookup and horizontal lookup. In the next video, we'll be covering goal seek function. Thank you for watching. So goal seek is a process of calculating a value by performing what if analysis on a given set of values. So as it is written that there has to be given set of values. We need to have some set of values that you're trying to really apply goal seek on. That is why I said that to begin with you would not use goal seek. Once the analysis is complete and you're running through scenario analysis and what if analysis, that if this happens, what will be this? And one more thing about goal seek is it is always used wherever there is number analysis. So often what if analysis will be on numbers. They apply to only numbers and not the textual form of cells. So let's use one of the simple examples which we will be using later on in the exercise of financial statement analysis and valuation. So here is a simple example that I will create goal seek on. There is a fundamental equation. What is sales? A sale is basically number of units multiplied by price. So let's say you are buying one mobile phone and the price of that mobile phone, let's say, is 10,000 rupees. So the sale for the company is 10,000. Similarly, when the volume changes to let's say 20 mobile phones at let's say 8,000 rupees, the value for a company, the sales for the company would be 1.6 lakh rupees. So this is a simple equation of sales is equal to units or volume multiplied by price. So I've used a simple example here where I'm saying that there is product A and product A, let's say sales, let's say volume for a certain year, product A is sold say 1,000. Okay. Similarly, we are saying there is a price to it and there is a revenue or a sales number. So this is a simple formula I am using where I am multiplying two numbers, and as you can see the X sign is the sign for multiplication. Right now we have not entered the price. Once we enter the price, our sales number will come up. Let's say our price is 20. Okay, so basis this we can see that our revenue is 20,000. But I'm just showing that as you are creating a simple model also, it is better to just clean up as much as possible. As you can see, after cleaning up, the sheet looks really nice. So what I have done is I have created grids around that where these border is the grid thing, and simply I've gone on view and I have unchecked grid lines. If you can see, grid lines are let's say coming back to goal seek. How do we apply goal seek? What exactly we mean by goal seek? So goal seek is a data analysis tool, and you will find it under data. You go on what if analysis, there you see goal seek. Okay, so I'm just creating a goal seek here, which is let's say if I want to change sales to, instead of 20,000, I want to change it to 25,000 by changing this cell. So instead of manually using a trial and error, I can use goal seek to really find this information. This is so simple, right? Let's try it again. goal seek, I want this sale number to be 25,000. In this, we know that the price becomes 25, so multiplied by that, we'll get 25,000. So let's see this in action here. Now, here is, where I will create little bit of complications, where I am saying that, instead of this to be 25, I want this to be 18,555. This is not something you can mentally calculate in terms of these numbers, and I want to know by let's say the price remains 25, what is the number of what are the number of units that product A has to be sold in order to get 18,555 as the revenue or the sales number. So set cell, which is the sales cell, to 18,555 by changing the volume. So you can see that it's 742 sold at 25 becomes 18,555. So let me add another complication to this same problem here, where I am saying that let's say these are years, or let's say this is a quarter. Quarter would be better. And let's say this is first quarter, second, third, fourth. And similarly, we are creating this model. All right. And let's say, randomly I am saying that 2,000 units were sold. Let me these numbers, and I copy the formula here. So for the entire year, we know that we can use auto sum here. Our revenue is this much. Okay. Now let me apply goal seek. Let's say the management says for the entire year we want to have 2 lakh rupee revenue, and we can change the price of quarter 4, because there we see that there is a room of increasing the price, hypothetically I am saying. So how can we do that? So the question is, we need to increase our sales to 2 lakh rupees for the entire year by changing the price of quarter 4. So we'll go on data, what if analysis, goal seek. We set this cell as 2 lakh by changing the cell which is the price of quarter 4. So you can see that it automatically calculates that. So this is not something you can manually do it. Obviously you can manually also do it with trial and error, but goal seek does it extremely well in terms of it's extremely efficient. As you can see that it not only just finds out 33 as the price, but it actually gives it to a great number of decimal points, exactly what it takes for this to be achieved at 2 lakh rupees. So I'll repeat the process of goal seek. You go on what if analysis. There under goal seek you will find this kind of dialog box that will come up. Set cell will be the cell where you need to change it to a certain value. This will always be connected with the value you are changing, because there has to be a formula inbuilt into this, so that if you change this particular cell into a certain value by changing a certain number. So in this example, we saw that 33 was being multiplied by volume leading to sales, and it was totaling up to 2 lakh rupees. Two things, just remember that first of all, the cell that you are setting the value to, that needs to have a formula. And secondly, the value that you need to have, like in case of price, we wanted to change the price, that should not have any formula inbuilt into it. It cannot be something which is driven with a formula. With this, we end the session on financial modeling tools. We'll continue our discussion on understanding Excel. In the next video, we'll talk about formatting. So let's say you are given a data for a product with volume and price, and there is sales number. And this is the way you look at the sheet. Now, as a first step, this is basic of formatting, right? How to present the data in an Excel. You cannot present this data to your boss or to your colleague or to anyone outside the firm because this does not look nice. So formatting actually helps you present the data nicely. So let's see how we can improve the view of this data. So first of all, it is extremely important to have a name of any analysis or the sheet you're presenting. We don't know what this quarter volume price is. Let's say this is a 2018 sales data of product A. Okay, and we can bold it, and usually this has to be in a bigger font size. Now we move to how to present this data. So first of all, we don't know what these volumes are. Let's say these were in thousands, right? So we have to write in thousands here. Price, let's say, is in INR. And similarly, we are saying that the sales is also in 1000. So that needs to be presented cleanly. This is a quarter data. This is for volume, price, and sales. Now we select this and we go on wrap text. As wrap text, you can see that it is presented in one cell and it's not moving into each other. You can cleanly see what this data is all about. The next step that you do is you present it in a certain way. In this, what I normally recommend is, you can just click on this button. It shows in double decimal. In case you prefer showing in double decimal, you can retain this format. Otherwise, you can use these tabs. As you can see, if you decrease it, you can see that the decimal goes away. Let's say we want to keep 1 decimal point here. Now we select this data and we go on border. Well, there is no certain standard, how you need to do. Whichever way you are comfortable, you can showcase that. I am just showing you one example how you can present the data nicely. And as you can see that, I just created a grid around this. So I created borders around this, which is you go on borders and there is an option of creating border here. Another thing I would recommend is you can also change the color of this, which is done through in this manner. So normally I prefer gray color, gray with the black font. This looks more professional. One last thing that I would like to do is I would go on view. Within that there is grid line. I will uncheck this and you are shown this data. So as you can see, from our earlier version to this version, there is a huge change in terms of how the data looks like. So what are all the steps that we have taken here? So first of all, the decimal places have to be common. Secondly, you need to format it and use wrap text if required. You need to always name the file, and if possible, you need to create it in a certain manner where you can get rid of grid lines and you can create a grid around the function. In case you are using this data file, it's fine. You have created this, you exactly know what is going on in this file. Although this is a simple version of the file, but still, if it is being circulated with across other teams, there may be some level of confusion with respect to where to enter the data and where not to enter the data. For example, if someone enters the data here and it becomes a hard-coded number, that will just spoil the model that you have created. So instead of that, it's always preferred to show where the data needs to be filled in a certain color. Let's say I am showing this in a certain color, and it is always better to even write it. Cells, let's say I'm just writing cells to be filled. So this basically indicates that anyone who uses this file, they need not actually enter anything on the other section. They have to just fill into where where you have color coded. So one way is to indicate in a different color code that this is to be filled. Another way of looking at it, or even a better way, would be protecting your cells. That is, everything is protected in this sheet except these tabs. How do we do that? Well, first of all, you go on, select this and you right click, and then you go on Format Cells. There you see Protection. You do uncheck the locked box. By default, Excel unlocks everything. So and now you go on Review tab. There you will see Worksheet, Workbook, how to protect. In this we'll be using Protect Sheet, but in case you want to protect your entire workbook, you go here and you just type in the password. No one will be able to open your Excel workbook except those who know the password or you. Now we are using a little bit more complicated tool here, which is Protect Sheet. In case I use Protect Sheet here, let's say I give it a password. As you will be able to see that if I click on any other place, it's not letting me click or change other than what I protected these cells on.
So let's review what exactly we need to do in order to protect a worksheet. Well, first of all, select the area that you want people to make changes if they want to. So I've selected these. Click on Write, and this tab will open up. Click on Format Cells. You have to ensure that this is unchecked, so I'm unchecking that, and then we go on Protect Sheet. I'm giving it a password, let's say 123. We have to ensure that only this is marked. Usually by default both of these are marked, so you have to ensure that this is unchecked again, and then you say OK. It will ask again for the password. You type in the same password and it's protected. So as you can see that if I click anywhere else, nothing will move, but this information can be updated. And in order to unprotect the sheet, we again go on Unprotect Sheet. We type in the password here 123 and it opens up. So this becomes a regular sheet now.
One last thing that is more simple tool that to be used here is conditional formatting. As the name says, conditional formatting is you're applying conditions to showcase certain information to you. So let's say here we have the sales number and we want automatically this tab to show sales that are more than 50,000. We go on conditional formatting. Here we say that we want greater than 50,000, right? So we want greater than 50,000 to be shown in green. It's a good thing, right? So let's say it's green, and similarly we want to show conditional formatting where it is less than 20,000 to show in red. Right now nothing is less than 20,000, but let's say if this is 19. So automatically this indicates. So in a simple way, it will throw up information that you need to be particularly careful of, that you are applying conditions on. So as the name suggests, it's conditional formatting. You're applying conditions to showcase certain data to you. So nothing is changing in your analysis. It is just a way of presenting the data where you get to know the information firsthand and immediately. Visually you can see, as you can see here, I don't have to look into the data particularly, but I know that red is indicative of less than 20,000 and green is indicative of more than 50,000 number in sales. So this is on the conditional formatting. One last thing on the conditional formatting is how do you delete the rules. So one way to do that is you go on conditional formatting, you go on manage rules, and you delete. In this video we have covered basics of formatting, how to protect your workbook, worksheet, and even cells, and we also learned how to apply conditional formatting and how to even delete or manage the rules related to conditional formatting. In the next video we'll be covering how to sort the data or how to filter the data. Thank you for watching. We'll continue with our previous example. In that we had shown 4 quarters. So since we are doing data sorting and filtering, we need more information here. So let me just drag this information and include, say, 12 quarters, maybe 4 years, that is 16 quarters. And similarly we need to include this information, which is price, volume, and sales. How do we copy? So Control C if you use is for copying the data. Control C, it will select the data, and Control V wherever you want to paste the data, it will paste the data. And Control Z is to undo the data. Control X is cut the data. Control C is copy the data. So let's say we have this updated sheet with updated number for 16 quarters. For product A, what information we have is volume, price, and the associated sales. Basis volume multiplied by price. What we need to do is apply 2 filters here. So one is data sorting and what is data filtering. So if you go on data tab, you will see that there is a button called data sort. Sort is basically, as the name suggests, you can arrange the numbers from lowest to highest or from highest to lowest. So let's see, if we select on data sort, let's say we need to sort it by volumes. So we need to, or maybe sales, sales is a better number. And we want to sort it by largest to smallest. In this, what we are trying to do is, irrespective of the quarter, we want this data to be shown in such a way that it starts with the highest, quarter that has the highest sales, and then descending it down to the smallest. So we click on OK. And as you see that it starts with the highest and it goes to the lowest. Similarly, if we select the same data and we want to sort it by, let's say, price, again from, let's say, smallest to largest, again irrespective of the quarter, the data is arranged basis the price. So this is the data sorting tool. Let's use the data filter tools. Let's also do it in the original format, which is the quarter. Let's do it basis quarter. So in quarter, what we want is from smallest to largest. So as you can see, we get the original data. So now we apply the data filter tool. What exactly is data filter? In case of sorting, we were arranging the data in ascending or descending order. In case of filter, we apply the filter here and we can pick up data that we want. This is a smaller list, but it can be a huge list as well, and we may not know from where the numbers are showing up. So let's apply the filter tool here. So let's select this these cells and go on filter. Again on the data tab there is filter, and you will see these data validation kind of tabs will be created. So let's say we want to select volumes, and you can apply different tools here. For example, we want to know which all month had 2300 as the volume. So we see that there were two not the months but which quarter. So 9th quarter and 13th quarter had similar volume, which is 2300,000 in this case. So this is the data filter tool where you can filter the data as you want. And when you filter the data, let's say we want to filter the tool and we want to apply show me the quarters that are greater, that have price greater than say 20. So these are the areas. And let's say similarly, let's modify this rule and say, let's say applying conditions here greater than 20, but let's say less than 50. What would that those quarters be? So we can see that those numbers are reducing here. Similarly, we can apply further filters on the volume side. Let's say we need with similar conditions, we need volumes greater than 3000. Well, the last topic we'll be covering here is sum if, count if, and average if. As you can see that there is if condition which is associated with this. So let me just show you by starting with count if equal to count if. Formula starts where you need to select the range. Let's say this is the range, which is 16 quarters, and we want the criteria to be volumes with 1000. As we can see that we have only one number. Let's say if this is 23, we see that there are two quarters that have 2300 as the volume. So this is the count if function, which is count the number if a certain condition is met. And the condition is, in this case, we were saying which particular cell has a certain volume and count those cells. So in this case, we had two cells. So let's say the next condition we are imposing here is sum if. Again, very similar to count if formula, where instead of counting, you are basically summing up the number. So let's say we select this range. The criteria is 2300, those 2300 volume. But instead of that, we are saying that the sum range is sales. So for those particular quarters, I need the sales total. So let's see what are those quarters. So 2300 is coming in 9th quarter and in 13th quarter. So the total of these two, 151,800. So that is what we are getting here. So in count if, it is simple where you're just counting if a certain condition is met. Sum if is a condition where if a certain condition is met, you can give an associated range. So let's apply average if, where it says that you need to give a range. Let's select the same range as volume. We want 2300, and the average range of sales we take is this, where it will, instead of summing up, it is giving the average of numbers. In our case, 2300 was appearing in quarter 9 and quarter 13. So it is taking the average of these two numbers. You can see it's 75,900, which matches with our number. So in this video we have covered couple of things including data sorting and data filtering. You have to remember that data sorting and filtering is applied on one particular worksheet. It cannot be applied across workbooks or worksheets. Only on one worksheet it is being applied. We also learned how to calculate these conditions based count, sum and average. So you're imposing a condition and basis that Excel is performing count function, sum function or average function. With this we have covered module 1, understanding Excel. Thank you for watching.